Okay, good morning, students. So yesterday I was not able to take the class. I've sent the waveforms on DPSK and QPSK done on a linear graph sheet. So that you can refer, and made a small correction in the QPSK. Below that waveforms in QPSK I've written note. So I forgot to perform the that is right shift. I have to right shift the odd sequence by 1 bit interval, and accordingly I have to draw the waveform. You please make that correction. I have put that note in that QPSK waveform sheet. So otherwise everything is clear there. Now today we will start with the chapter module 4, that is digital transmission through band limited channels. So this chapter is also very important, where you are going to study about intersymbol interference and eye diagram, then raised cosine function, etc. Okay, so we will start this module today. So the introduction is the reference book for this as per the prescribed syllabus is ProKeys. So I'm referring the same book here. So to start with the introduction, so we here in this chapter we treat the digital communication over a channel which is modeled as a linear filter with bandwidth limitation. That means the channel used is considered to be a linear filter, and it's a band limited channel. So this is the channel that we are assuming taking into consideration for digital communication. The band limited channel most frequently encountered in practice are telephone channels, then microwave line of sight radio channels, satellite channels, and underwater acoustic channels. So these are the practical applications where we are using the band limited channels. And remember that the channel we are considering here is a linear, we are treating this as a linear filter with the bandwidth limited. So in general, linear filter channel imposes a more stringent requirement, that is strict requirements on the design of modulation signals. Especially the transmitted signals must be designed to satisfy the bandwidth constraint imposed by the channel. That means if you have any digital signal to be transmitted, its bandwidth should match the bandwidth of the channel, the which is band limited. So bandwidth constraint includes the use of rectangular pulses at the output of the modulator. So we are going to use that is perform modulation, digital modulation, and in such a way that the output from the modulator is a rectangular of bandwidth that fits into the bandwidth of the channel, because the channel is band limited, so that we are not going to lose any information. Instead, the transmitted signal, so to achieve this, we have to shape the transmitted signal to restrict its bandwidth, so that this restricted signal is exactly fits into the channel which is band limited. So hence this chapter includes the design of band limited signals. So previous classes modules we have seen what is a band limited channel, and in this chapter we are going to see how we have to reshape the transmitted signal so that its bandwidth fits into the bandwidth of the band limited channel. That is the concept in this module. So in this topic, the linear filter channel distorts the transmitted signal. This channel distortion results in intersymbol interference at the demodulator output, which leads to increase in the error probability at the detector output. So since we have considered a channel which is we are viewing it as a linear filter, so this logic is going to concept is going to implement some sort of distortion, which is called the intersymbol interference, which we are going to encounter at the demodulator output. So if we don't take care of this ISI, it is very difficult to demodulate the signal and get the detected output, because the probability of error will be very large. So devices or methods for correcting the channel distortion called channel equalizers are then described later in this chapter. So this module includes about the channel equalizers. So this is a device or a circuit used for correcting the channel distortion. So the channel distortion is because of the linear filter behavior of the channel. So let us see what is this intersymbol interference, and let us arrive at the equation where it is going to exhibit, that is the output of the receiving filter is going to exhibit the ISI, that is intersymbol interference. So this is about the introduction part of the digital transmission through band limited channels. Next we shall move on to intersymbol interference signal transmission. So here you have a block diagram. You can see this block diagram here. So this includes a transmitting filter, and channel follow into which the noise is going to be added, which is considered to be an AWGN noise. And at the receiver side, we have a receiving filter, a sampler to which we are going to feed the timing signal, and the detector, from which we are going to get the detected output. So this is the block diagram for a digital PAM system. So let the impulse response of the transmitting filter be GT of t, and here they have given it in the frequency domain. So in the analysis, I take the time domain, and let V of t be the output of the transmitting filter, which acts as an input to the channel whose impulse response is C of t, and the output of channel, that is into the to this channel we are going to add the AWGN noise which is present in the space, that gets added to the channel, and the combine of this two is feeding as an input to the receiving filter, which is R of t. Now output of the receiving filter is Y of t, and this is sampled at periodically at regular instants and or regular intervals, and sampled output is, we consider it as Y of k into t, which when passed through the detector, we get the detected output. Okay. So let us see how this block diagram, the analysis of this block diagram is. Now figure, as I've shown on the slide, figure illustrates the baseband PAM communication system. So this consists of the transmitting filter having the impulse response GT of t, then linear filter channel with AWGN, uh, a receiving filter with an impulse response of GR of t, a sampler that periodically samples output of the receiving filter, and a symbol detector. So detector or symbol detector both are one and the same. The sampler requires the extraction of timing signal from the received signal itself. This timing signal serves as a clock that specifies the appropriate time instance for sampling the output of the receiving filter. So the clock that is obtained from this symbol timing estimator, this tells the sampler at what instant the sampling has to be done. So next is so that is about the various blocks in the block diagram. Now let us see how the intersymbol interference appears in the received signal. So let us consider a digital PAM communication system by means of M-array PAM. So here we are considering M-array PAM signal. So hence the input binary data sequence is subdivided into blocks of k bit symbol. That means each symbol is represented by k bits. Like in QPSK, each symbol is represented by bits. So in M-array PAM system, each symbol is represented by block of k bits. And each symbol is mapped into corresponding amplitude level. That amplitude modulates the output of the transmitting filter. So that is about this first thing. Okay, the input data here is an M-array signal, and this is fed to the transmitting filter. So in the transmitting filter, because it is M-array, we are dividing the binary sequence into blocks of k bits, and each symbol is represented by this k bits. This symbol is mapped into corresponding amplitude level by means of amplitude modulation in the transmitting filter. Now the baseband signal at the output of the transmitting filter or input to the channel, that is V of t. Now I can see here V of t is equal to sigma n is equal to minus infinity to plus infinity a n gt of t minus nt. Okay, where the capital T is equal to k by rb, that is symbol interval, and 1 by t which is equal to rb by k is the symbol rate, rb is the bit rate, an is the sequence of amplitude levels, corresponding to the sequence of k-bit blocks of information bits. So here remember that each symbol is represented by block of k bits, and each symbol is mapped into corresponding amplitude levels, which is represented by AN. So V of t is the output from the transmitting filter. Next we shall move on to this. The channel output, which is the received signal at the demodulator, is given by, so R of t. R of t means this channel output plus the noise we have to consider here. So here R of t is nothing but sigma n is equal to minus infinity to plus infinity an h of t minus nt plus noise n of t. Now here what is h of t here? So h of t is the impulse response of the cascade of the transmitting filter and the channel. That is, h of t here is nothing but convolution of gt of t into convolution of gt of t and c of t. Okay, where c of t is the impulse response of the channel, and n of t is the AWGN noise added into the channel. So this is the output of the channel R of t, which is the received signal for the receiver block at the receiving filter input. Now the received signal is passed through the receiving filter whose impulse response is GR of t. If GR of t is matched to H of t, then its output signal to noise ratio is maximum at the proper sampling instant. The output of the receiving filter, you can see here, output of the receiving filter, which is Y of t, is expressed as Y of t is equal to sigma n is equal to minus infinity to plus infinity an x of t minus nt plus W of t. Now, what is x of t? X of t is nothing but, x of t is nothing but h of t, convolution of h of t and the impulse response of the receiving filter. But what is h of t? H of t is nothing but the convolution of gt of t with c of t. Okay, so I substitute for h of t is equal to gt of t convolute c of t, convolutes the impulse response of the receiving filter gr of t, and W of t I take here because this W of t is nothing but n of t convolutes gr of t. When n of t is passed through the receiving filter, it passed through the receiving filter. The output of that, the noise component will be nothing but the convolution of the AWGN noise n of t convolutes the impulse response of the receiving filter. Okay, so this is the additive noise at the output of the receiving filter. Now to recover the symbol AN, because we are performing PAM here, the information is present in the amplitude levels of the symbols. So to recover the information symbol AN, the output of the receiving filter is sampled periodically every t second. So as per this, go to the block diagram, the output of this receiving filter Y of t is sampled regularly at periodically every t seconds. Hence, the sampler output is y of k into t. So here you can also take it as y of m into t. Doesn't matter. And this, as I told you earlier, symbol timing estimator. This acts as this obtains the timing signal from the received the output of the receiving filter, and this timing signal is used as a clock to the sampler to perform the sampling at periodically at regular intervals. So the output of the sampler is y of mt, which is nothing but sigma an x of mt minus nt plus w of mt. So you can write in the abbreviation this as y of mt as y subscript small m equal to sigma n is equal to minus infinity to plus infinity an x of mt minus nt. I can write this as x subscript small m minus small n plus w of mt as w subscript small m. So this is only an abbreviation form that I have used. Now I will split this equation. So with n is equal to 0, this x subscript m minus n becomes x naught. So I will be getting one term, that is x naught into an, which I have shown here, and the remaining terms I have to take it as sigma n is equal to n not equal to m. Okay, so not equal to m, excluding that the other elements from minus infinity, n is equal to minus infinity to infinity, I have to take sigma an x m minus n. So plus this omega wm as it is. Now I hope you have understood how I have split this. What I have done here is take m is equal to n. Then I get one term in the sigma under the summation. That term is x naught into am. So I have written that here. The remaining terms. So I have already taken m is equal to n. Excluding that, I have to take the remaining terms that lies in the limit n is equal to minus infinity to plus infinity. So the remaining term I have shown like this, sigma n not equal to m, because that I have already taken n is equal to m. So excluding that term, the remaining all terms that lies in the limit n is equal to minus infinity to infinity, I have to take. So an x m minus n plus wm. Okay, so where m is equal to 0, plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, and so on. So the first term here in equation 10.1.13, first term in this equation, I just show this, I will highlight this equation. So first term here, I'm sorry, this term, first term x naught into am. Okay, so this x naught into am, this x naught into, so this term is the desired symbol am scaled by the gain parameter x naught. So we want this am term only because the information is present in this. So we have to retrieve this am term, the first term in the detector output. So when the receiving filter is matched to the received signal h of t, the scale factor x naught equals integral minus infinity to plus infinity h square of t dt. This is in the frequency domain form. I will substitute what is h of f. H of f is nothing but the product of GAT of f and C of f. So that is what I have written here. And this I am representing this entire integral term equal to EH. Okay. So that is about the first term. So we have to recover this term. This is the term we have to recover. And the second term, coming to the second term, that is this term, sigma n not equal to, the second term, sigma n not equal to m, an x m minus n, represents the effect of the other symbols at the sampling instant t is equal to mt. And this is because of the effect of the other symbols, adjacent symbols. This is called the intersymbol interference. So this presence of ISI causes a degradation in the performance of the digital communication system. So hence we have to remove this ISI term or ISI factor. Now the third term, that is omega m. Okay. So the third term here, I just highlight that. This third term, omega m, represents the additive noise having zero mean Gaussian random variable with variance sigma w square is equal to n naught eh by 2. By properly designing the transmitting and receiving filters, we can eliminate the ISI. The only term that can cause error in the received sequence is the additive noise. Okay, so this is about the intersymbol interference. So this intersymbol interference is mainly due to the effect of the adjacent symbols or other symbols at the sampling instant. And this has to be eliminated because this causes a degradation in the performance of the digital communication system. Now let us go to the next Digital transmission through band limited channels. So the development given for baseband PAM can be easily extended to carrier modulation via PAM, PAM and PSK. In a carrier amplitude modulated signal, the baseband PAM given by V of t. So V of t, we have taken it here. What is V of t? AN GT of t minus NT. The same thing I take here. Okay. Where U of t, U of t, so he says, in a carrier amplitude modulated signal, the baseband PAM given by V of t modulates the carrier so that the transmitted signal U of t, that is, after modulating the carrier, the transmitted signal is represented by U of t given by V of t into cos 2 pi f c. So V of t is the baseband PAM, baseband signal. This is modulated with the carrier to obtain the modulated signal. Okay, so U of t is the transmitted signal. Thus, that baseband signal V of t shifted in frequency by Fc, of course. So, what is modulation? The product of two signals, the baseband signal and the carrier signal. So, the baseband signal here is V of t and carrier signal is cos 2 pi Fc. So, we are performing amplitude modulation. A QAM signal is a bandpass signal which may be viewed as two AM carrier signals in phase quadrature. So you already studied about what is quadrature amplitude modulation. That is, you can send two different message symbols. If you are considering a binary QAM, two message symbols can be multiplexed. That is, it can be sent at the same time with different carriers. One is the carrier, say cos 2 pi FCT, another is carrier sin 2 pi FCT. So in phase quadrature, you can send two signals at a time. That is quadrature amplitude modulation. So using that, we can express this U of t is equal to Vc cos 2 pi FCT minus Vs of t sin 2 pi FCT. So where Vc of t is equal to ANC GT of t minus NT. This is the in phase component and this is the quadrature. Okay. So the same thing I have taken here, where ANC and ANS are the two sequences of amplitude carried on the two quadrature carriers. So the quadrature carriers are two carriers are in quadrature. A more compact mathematical representation of the baseband signal is the equivalent complex valued baseband signal. That means you can express the baseband signal V of t in terms of its complex as a complex signal, which is given by Vc of t plus j Vs of t. Okay, so when you substitute for Vc of t from here and Vs of t from here and combine it, you will be getting this. Okay, where the sequence An is equal to ANC plus j ANS is now a complex valued sequence representing the signal point from QAM signal constellation. The corresponding bandpass QAM signal U of t may be expressed as, so with this you can express the U of t as, this is for a QAM, real part of V of t into the e to the power of j 2 pi fct. So similarly, we can represent a digital carrier phase modulated signal as ANGT GT of t minus NT. Sequence AN takes the value from the set of possible phase. So you can perform using this baseband signal, you can perform amplitude modulation, quadrature amplitude modulation and phase modulation also. So hence all the three carrier modulated signals PAM, PAM and PSK can be represented as in equation 6, 7, where the only difference is in the values taken by the transmitted sequence. So the signal V of t given by equation 7 is called the equivalent low pass signal. So I just stop here. We'll continue in the next session. So power spectrum of digitally modulated signals, we don't have that in our syllabus. Click. This we don't have, but signal design for band limited channels, this I have to do it. This I will do it in the next session. So this eye diagram you have. Of course, design of band limited signals for zero ISI and for conditional ISI. Both. So all this is there. That is article number 10 point. I'll just tell you here. So I have not got the actual prescribed book. This is, of course, it is pro case only, but different edition I have taken. So this is not there. 10.2 is not there. 10.3 you have. So design of band limited signal for zero ISI you have. Design of band limited signals with controlled ISI also you have. Symbol by symbol detection you have. That is detection of partial response signal. This also you have. So you can refer ProKeys because ProKeys is the prescribed book. Okay. This duobinary and all I will do it. Probability of error without derivation you have. Okay. Okay, just stop here. Because this chapter I should go a bit slowly, otherwise you will not follow. So even duobinary signaling, this also you can do it. Duobinary signaling without pre-encoder and with pre-encoder you have to do. So this also we will take it up sometime later. So I just conclude this. So what we are actually doing here is we are shaping the transmitted signal in such a way that its bandwidth of the shaped signal is well within the bandwidth of the band limited channel, so that you are not going to lose any information, and at the same time we are also taking care of the intersymbol interference, because you will be having so many symbols that is transmitted every bit interval. So the at the instant of sampling, the adjacent symbols should not interfere, because this gives rise to error, and it is very difficult once it reaches the detector part. So you have to minimize this error. So that reshaping of the transmitted signal, that is what we are trying to do here. So here raised cosine is not given. So let me try to get it from some other this thing from the net, and I will tell you. Okay, thank you.